people think of cigars, they probably think of gangsters, Fidel Castro and Winston Churchill. But Andy and I from Red Tab Media wanted to know why people really smoke cigars. Are Cubans the best? When is a good time to smoke one? And how much are they worth to the UK market? We went to the Prince of Wales pub in Birmingham to speak to owner Keith Marsden, who recently opened his cigar hut, La Choza, Cigars of the World, and caught up with a couple of aficionados attending Keith's first cigar festival, the Big Smoke.
I've had a passion for cigars for many years. I smoked them since I was in my early 20s, so quite a while now, and I saw that a lot of very exclusive places in London were doing things, creating indoor cigar lounges, and I then decided to find out how they could do that given the smoking ban, and that's when I found out that if you create, in effect, a separate specialist tobacconist business, that specialist tobacconist business will allow people to sample cigars. And I thought that was a great thing to do on a Friday or Saturday night when you come in the pub for a drink, nice evening out with your mates or whatever. I'm sure a lot of people would like to enjoy a really nice cigar.
How and when did you get into cigars?
Well, I got into cigars in about 1981 to begin with. I think was my first ever attempt, and 82 it might have been, I can't remember now, but a long time ago. And I was working in Switzerland, and I was actually working as a tour guide, and I had a coachload of Americans going all over Europe. And when I went into Geneva's quite famous for its tobacconists, and I went into Geneva and I dropped them off, and they all went shopping for cuckoo clocks, and I went into a really fabulous cigar shop and bought half a dozen cigars. And then that night, when everybody had gone to bed, I was in a really lovely hotel overlooking Lake Montreux. And when they'd all gone to bed, I sat on my balcony, got a big brandy from the bar. Then I smoked myself stupid. It wasn't particularly successful, but for some reason I stayed with it, and I learned to love them. So that's how I started.
I see Churchill seems to be like some sort of figurehead of the cigar smoking world. What's the story there?
Well, somebody did a calculation about how many Habana cigars that Winston Churchill smoked in his life. I can't remember, but it was several 100,000, I think. And obviously, the great man, lived until I think he was 95, and famously used to drink a lot, smoke a lot, and do a lot of other things that weren't supposed to be that good for you. He would smoke his cigars quite leisurely, so he would have a smoke, leave it for 10 minutes, go back to it, leave it for 10 minutes, and his cigars used to get really soggy at the end. In fact, he had to resort to putting what he called a belly band round it. They got so soggy because he'd chomp on them for like half a day, and he would put this little piece of like stiff paper or cardboard around the end to stop them completely disintegrating. But probably the world's most famous cigar smoker, so a great man.
What General Weygand called the Battle of France is over. I expect that the Battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Upon it depends our own British life and the long continuity of our institutions and our empire.
So between writing great speeches about fighting on beaches and fine hours, Winston Churchill was eagerly puffing away on one of his many thousand stocks of Havana cigars. One of his valets, Roy Howells, went on to write in his book, Simply Churchill. It took me a little while to get used to the fact that in 2 days his cigar consumption was the equivalent of my weekly salary.
Do you think the common perception of cigars affects the way people enjoy them?
The common perception of cigars, I think people have different perceptions. The one perception which is the old school gentleman's club, Winston Churchill type perception, and for a lot of people that's still aspirational in a really old school, old fashioned sort of way, and people like to indulge in a little bit of that sometimes. I think for other people, especially younger people, the characters that have characterised cigar smoking are largely to do with movies and American culture. Arnold Schwarzenegger, and a lot of younger guys like to do the Tony Soprano thing, the little gangster sort of thing. I think the younger people do that a lot, but I think a lot of older people just like to enjoy a cigar. They enjoy them occasionally. They have them at Christmas or at weddings or whatever. And now they come to a place like the pub where perhaps it's a little bit unexpected, and they can, you know, for not a lot of money, they can buy in and have that experience on a weekly basis rather than at Christmas, New Year or christenings or whatever.
I was curious to know of the popular common brands such as King Edward's or the small tin Café Creme. Where are they on the cigar scale?
They're a different beast to a handmade cigar. So what they call handmade long filler cigars, rolled from full leaves of the tobacco plant. That's where the artistry is, that's where the flavour is, and that's what I like to help people to get into.
Where are the cigars from? What parts of the world?
Well, they're from, we have a lot of Cuban cigars, obviously, because Cubans are still the benchmark. I have Nicaraguan cigars, Honduran cigars, cigars with tobacco in from Connecticut in the States and Ecuador and all sorts of different places, but they're mainly from Cuba and the countries around the Caribbean.
Mueren ya las ilusiones del ayer, que sacié con lujurioso amor, y mueren también con sus promesas crueles, la inspiración que un día le brindé, con candor el alma entera yo le di, pensando en nuestro idilio consagrar, sin pensar que ya lo que buscaba en mí era el amor de loca juventud.
Question, are Cuban cigars the superior cigars?
I would say yes, only because of the region, only because of the climate in the north of the country. It's just, and the soil there, it's like this mineral-rich soil, and it's the perfect distance from the equator. Everything is just perfect for growing tobacco, I think. So that's what makes it, I would say, the best. But also the farming techniques. There's no modern-day industrialization for their farming. It's all hand-done still because of, obviously, the communist government and the regime there. But that's what I think adds the extra touch, you know, extra bit of quality to it. So, I mean, it's truly a handmade product, and it's 100% organic. Like, even the glue to hold the wrapper together comes from a plant in Mexico. So there's nothing artificial in a cigar, which is why I think it's so much better than cigarettes.
Cigar smoking appears to be a very male community, but what about women? Not exactly synonymous with cigars. Do they smoke them too?
You'll get considerably more women smoking cigars than you'd imagine. I used to go to quite a lot of do's in London to do with cigars, and the number of women that smoke there, I would say 80% of the women that were attending smoked cigars. You get a few famous ones, like Madonna is a big cigar smoker, and quite a few others.
We had my daughter's wedding back in November, and my son-in-law, my future son-in-law, expressed a wish for cigars to be on hand.
Handed around.
John managed to get a box full, and we took them, expecting perhaps 3 or 4 would get.
They were these. You know, that's what I normally smoke.
And it was amazing how popular it was. I think we had a box of 25. I think we had about 3 or 4 left, didn't we?
I gave him 25, box 25. I was expecting to use about 6.
And the strange thing was that
women were smoking.
So many of the women guests were smoking them. I mean, my daughter was there with a huge cigar in a wedding dress. You know. We got photographs, mercifully. Even my future mother-in-law, who's a very straight-laced and rather severe type, she was there after a few gins, you know, with a cigar. I was absolutely amazed.
In 2010, cigar sales of £235 million were reported by giant British tobacco company Imperial Tobacco Group plc.
Do you think part of the romanticism of the fact that it's handmade goes into the experience of enjoying it?
Well, it does. You know, if you look at the cigar, I'm smoking a cigar now. You know, over 200 people touched this tobacco leaf before it got to me. You know, the guys who, you know, planted the seedlings in Cuba or Dominican Republic, through all the processes that go on the farm, and the curing and the fermentation, and then the grading in the warehouses in the tobacco regions, and then the grading again and the storage in the factory, and the making them all by hand and putting the bands and all that. You know, there's lots and lots of people involved in it, and all that gives you in the end a really great product. It's a totally unique product, and it's you know, it's beautiful to smoke.
Many enthusiasts from around the UK rocked up to Keith's festival with their elaborate paraphernalia, engraved cutters, handmade humidors, and one guy even compromised his dignity wearing a Victorian smoking cap. This is an industry that thrives on the romanticism of delicate handmade products, select drinks, and refined flavours, but you don't need to be an aficionado to enjoy a cigar.
Yo como soy